It's time for another edition of the Daily Racing Form Weekend Preview. This time, it's the Belmont style. We're happy to preview the Belmont for you, and we're also going to talk a little bit about the Met Mile. Angela, it's actually the third year that we're going to have the Belmont at Saratoga, so it's a little strange. We had the Preakness for the first time at Laurel. The Belmont this year, not even at the Belmont anymore, but that's okay. They're doing renovations, and they'll be back next year. So it's not the Triple Crown that we know, but we still get the big races and a fun field to discuss this weekend.
Yeah, and I think that the biggest difference will be, of course, the distance. It's going to be a mile and a quarter. It's going to be at Saratoga, just due to configuration of the track. That's what we deal with. But it's always exciting that you can really feel the buzz, even if you watch it from thousands of miles away, that's going on at the Belmont, because it is such special circumstances. And then later on, we get to go back to a more traditional Triple Crown. And we'll see if it does stay like that. Some discussion being talked of changing of the timing after, of course, these changing of the tracks. So an overall period of change for racing when it comes to these 3-year-olds.
Well, I'm going to be making the first trip ever out to Saratoga myself, so I'm going to be a newbie there this weekend. We want to let you know a little bit more about a platform that Daily Racing Form has called DRF Newbie.
Think horse racing is too complicated? Think again.
And they're off!
Every pro was a newbie once. Meet DRF Newbie, the mobile tool loaded with Daily Racing Form data and the power of DRF AI.
What a shocker!
Get the insights you need fast so you can play smarter and feel more confident. DRF Newbie, horse racing made simple. Try it free today. Visit newbie.drf.com.
What's great about Newbie is it's a really fun place to start learning horse racing and past performances, because I have a lot of friends, Angela, they know sports betting, but when you open up that racing form for the first time, it can be a little intimidating. There's a lot of numbers. It can look like a different language. DRF Newbie is way more user-friendly. It's horse racing simplified. Lots of graphs and colors just to make things so much easier for you to digest and understand. And we'll hopefully send you into the winner's circle this weekend at the Belmont. And I will say, Angela, it's not a field of 14, but in this field of 9, if you told me any one of like 7 won this race, it really wouldn't shock me all that much. I only think there are like 2 crazy long shots that would probably need to run a lot faster than they have before. And one of them is probably Vitruvian Man, who we will start out with. He does go out for a trainer who has won the Derby and has won the Preakness before. So he's had great success in Triple Crown events, Doug O'Neill. I just haven't seen enough from Vitruvian Man on track yet to think he could be a major player in a group like this.
Well, and you look for new shooters in, of course, the Preakness. You had to, essentially. And, of course, in the Belmont, you look for a horse, I guess, that can pass some horses. But as you do look at the pace and you see that it's pretty minimal in this spot, if you were looking for a horse that could pick up the pieces, get some of the action maybe in the trifectas, the superfectas, you would think Vitruvian Man. But if you think that he is going to outclose some of the closers in this spot, I think that's a tall order, and 30-1 would be the minimum that I would demand on Vitruvian Man. But you might be able to see some upside with him. It's just, I think we may have seen his best shot, and it's just a tick below some of the cream that's in this crop.
Yeah, his best effort so far was when he finished 3rd in the Santa Anita Derby back on April the 4th behind So Happy and Potente. Potente is actually going to be running this weekend at Churchill Downs in the Matt Win. Let's move to Power Shift. I think of the double-digit prices, if he is around 12-1, this guy makes a lot of sense, Angela, because if you look at the projector, he is projected to be one of the horses on the lead in here, and it doesn't seem like there should be all that much early speed. I don't know if he's quite as good as some of the other top contenders in here, but he could get a real big pace advantage in this race if there aren't too many horses up front pushing him early on.
Well, here's, I guess, how I look at Power Shift. And you can look at him in a number of ways, because he was a little bit of a surprise to show up in here. But if you also look at the fact that Renegade's in here, and Power Shift is owned just by Mike Rapoli, and Mike Rapoli owns Renegade with a number of people, I think that if you want to, I mean, there's a certain amount of politics to this, or if you want to work with those people in the future, and you maybe want to eliminate excuses. You don't want to make excuses in the Belmont. You want to eliminate those. You eliminate the excuse of no pace when you put in Power Shift. And whether you think that Power Shift is going to be able to relax, I still don't think he's going to be able to go slow. I mean, the purpose of him being in there to a degree is to ensure some pace. So I don't think that they're going to crawl on the front end with Power Shift, regardless if he's clear. I think that his mission is, I mean, not one-dimensional on paper, but it's a big part of the mission. So Power Shift for me is a horse that I'm going to look for a little bit later on down the line and maybe see how long he can last against these to determine what path he takes next.
Yeah, what's nice about him being in here is his running style is positive for him and for his stablemate. Like
Mhm.
his best chance of winning this race is if he gets loose on the front end or if he's able to get clear. But the best chances for Renegade are also if a horse like Power Shift goes and makes sure there's an honest pace to run at. So he does the job for himself and for his stablemate, as you were kind of pointing out. It's twofold why he's in this race, to at least make sure Renegade has some pace to run at. But he's no slouch himself, Power Shift. We'll see if he's up to the task this early in his career with just a few starts so far. We move to Chief Wallaby. He's only 3-1 on the morning line, and he's been a real buzzy horse in this group, Angela, even though he only has one career victory, and he's finished behind Commandment a couple times. He was fourth, though, in the Kentucky Derby, and he ran pretty well in there. And he just has seemed like a horse who has always been a really popular horse. He trains well in the mornings. He goes out for trainer Bill Mott, who trained Sovereignty to win the Kentucky Derby and the Belmont Stakes last year. What do you think about the Chief in here?
Looking at Chief Wallaby and looking at the other Derby runners, I think your opinion of the Belmont can hinge on your opinion of the Derby. And I don't think it's going to be that much differently of a run race other than a slightly slower pace. So if I like Chief Wallaby in the Derby, and I did, I'm going to like Chief Wallaby in this spot just by virtue of a smaller field and less pace, probably making it a bit easier on Chief Wallaby from start to finish. Whether he is good enough to hold off some of the closers, even with a clean trip, not sure he was going to hold off everybody. I thought maybe third was his ceiling. He got fourth, but Chief Wallaby, I don't think, needed the excuses that some of his competition in the Belmont are going to need to turn the tables from the Derby to the Belmont. Now, Chief Wallaby probably has some growing up to do still. I still think that it's going to be just as good a setup in here. And again, I respected the races that he put in going in before the Derby. I hope that he got enough out of it where he can put on a good show and at least be in the fight down the stretch, because I think the setup is going to work well for him.
And when we're kind of looking at this whole group individually and how quick they are early, or like what their particular running styles are, he seems like one of the horses who I wouldn't be shocked if he's a little bit closer early than we would expect. Like if he's sitting third or fourth or something like that, that would be, I think, a nice spot for him to be in. And it wouldn't shock me at all being a lightly raced horse with some upside and maybe one of the naturally quicker horses in the field. So I agree with you. I think he's in the mix. Like any of my pick fours or pick fives that I have, he's going to be on that ticket in the closing leg because I think he's a major player to win this thing. And we move right next door to the, I think, second choice, to the actually morning line favorite. Chief Wallaby was the second choice. So these are your top two betting choices right next door to each other. We've got Renegade, who's going to come from way out of it, Angela, but you sort of have him stacked towards the top of the division right now because every single race he's run, he's just shown up and he's unleashed that late kick. You kind of know what you're going to get from him. He'll need a little pace to run at, but he's going to drop back and he's going to come running late. He was your Kentucky Derby runner-up.
Oh man, and he shut me up in the Derby big time. I was a bit against him because of the post draw and because of the style and everything. Put that all to bed. That was an outstanding ride by Ortiz, and he really did everything right but win. And Renegade, I think, probably hasn't lost too much in this interim time. He's been training up there. I mean, he's got everything that you want out of a favorite in the Belmont. He's the horse that you do have to beat. He's the one you have to hold off. But things do happen. Sometimes the pace could be a little slower than I think it will be, and that'll be at the cost of some deep closers like him and the Derby winner Golden Tempo. So if you're going to make an argument against Renegade, it's that he might not have that same table set that he did at the Derby, but still with less traffic to navigate through, that can negate that. With a little bit better post, being off the rail, that can negate that. He's going to be very, very tough in here. And I have to fear and respect Renegade a little bit more than I did in the Derby.
Yeah, I think he's the one that will come running late, and I completely agree with you. Maybe the race shapes up a little different, but I feel confident that he's going to unleash that late rally. Angela, let's take about 15, 20 seconds on Otino, who he's kind of like a prospect. He's got the pedigree and he's got the ability, but he hasn't put it all together for a big one yet. Do you give him a shot in here?
I think the expectations on him are a little bit high because of that pedigree. You have gun runner in your family tree. People are going to expect you to be in that ballpark, and whether or not he gets there yet, I think the price might not be right for what the horse has put on the track, for the potential that comes with him.
Don't go anywhere. We'll finish off with the Belmont field, number 6 through 9, when we return. As we pick back up with the number 6 Growth Equity, Angela, he's one of the 3 for trainer Chad Brown. And as we talked about this race not having that much early speed in here, I feel like at least one of the Chad Brown runners is going to try to be a speed horse, or be at least forwardly placed and up there with power shift. If I had to guess, I would think it would be Growth Equity, who's kind of naturally the quickest of them, and he could be kind of forward on his own. He's in really nice form right now. He's won back-to-back races. The 2 races that he lost, he finished second, and he won the prep race for the Belmont, which is the Peter Pan. Wasn't a strong edition of the Peter Pan, but he is a lightly raced horse that's moving in the right direction now, and I could see him being in the mix early here. What do you think about Growth Equity?
I thought that maybe the time to take a shot with one of these types of horses was the Preakness, and of course that
You're right.
timing wouldn't work out with the Peter Pan. But the Belmont just came up a little bit tough for a horse who obviously is a bit behind. He already has some one-turn races to him, but the Peter Pan, he seemed to be a standout. I don't know how much that really tested him and put some starch into him to get him ready to face off against the best of his crop. Now, if he is a part of that, you will get some value. But Growth Equity hasn't shown me up to this point that a mile and a quarter against the best is really either what he's asking for right now, or maybe what he's ultimately destined to do. If he surprises me, he surprises me, but frankly, he would. And he's going to take a bit of money because I think, like you laid out, he might be in a good position early. It's just really when it comes to the acid test, I question that last quarter of a mile or so.
I agree with you. Like, on paper, he looks fine. He looks solid. And I think people may gravitate towards him on paper because he's got those 1s and 2s. He doesn't have bad races or bad form, but he just hasn't really faced company like this yet. And this is going to be a pretty tough group. He'll probably be facing the 5 toughest horses he's ever faced, all in the same field, all right here. So that's not going to be an easy task for Growth Equity. As we move to Commandment, going into the Kentucky Derby, he was on that top tier. There were 3 horses that were going to vie for favoritism. He was in that group with Renegade and with Further Ado. Renegade shows back up here. Further Ado is actually going to be running on Sunday in the Matt win over at Churchill Downs. It feels like in the last couple weeks, Commandment's kind of been a forgotten horse. There hasn't been as much buzz about him. He was okay in the Kentucky Derby. Like, he didn't run great. He wasn't awful. I think he just moved a little bit early into a fast pace. There were a couple horses that sort of did that. They made that early move. He has really good races in Florida with the Florida Derby and with the races at Gulfstream, where he had some of the higher figures and he beat horses like Chief Wallaby. I feel like he could be a pretty nice price in here, Angela, if he is around 6-1 and he is like double the price of a horse like Chief Wallaby that he's defeated. What do you think about Commandment's chances on Saturday in the Belmont?
Yeah, you have mentioned the only thing I don't care for with Commandment, and I think he's not going to be 6-1. I think he might be 7-2, 9-2, something like that. Because I think we see the same sort of thing. The trip that he got in the Derby where he did sit a bit closer and it turned out he wanted to be a mile off the pace is going to benefit him in this field rather than the trips that Golden Tempo and Renegade put together that day if they try to replicate it in the Belmont. I mean, if they run those same races, Commandment is just going to have some more in the tank down the stretch, and I think hang on a lot better. I think of any of the horses that come out of the Derby, he's going to improve the most. Obviously the winner and the runner-up don't need to improve very much, but I think Commandment will. And I really think that even though it wasn't a fluky race, he didn't run terrible. I just think given the circumstances today, just more typical race circumstances when it comes to field size and whatnot, he's going to really make his presence felt a lot more. I have to use him in tickets. I just think he might be an underlay, but he's going to definitely show what he's made of a lot better in this spot, I think.
You almost wonder, too, if after the big races he ran back-to-back at Gulfstream Park, maybe he was a little bit flat late, but I don't even want to take too much away from him in the Derby, because I just agree with the way that you laid it out. I just thought the way that race played out, he moved too early into it. This race is going to play a little bit different. I like the fact that he can sit closer than maybe Renegade and some of the other deeper closers.
Yeah.
And he's just a horse that if he is above 4-1, that should offer value in this race when he was one of the top contenders going into the Derby. So Commandment, we'll see what price he ends up going off at, but a major player in the Belmont. We move to Emerging Market. We go from the Florida Derby winner to the Louisiana Derby winner, Emerging Market. He's still lightly raced. He's only raced 3 times. He's another one for Chad Brown, and Flavian Pratt is aboard. So he's a real strong connections play. Emerging Market is 6-1 on the morning line, right in that same range with Commandment. What do you think about his chances in here?
Well, and when you're looking for horses that need to step up their game off the Derby, I don't know. I didn't see that much that I would want Emerging Market to change in the future. He just couldn't keep up when it came into the late stages. He didn't have as fettered of a trip as some of the competition in there. And I just thought that maybe Emerging Market had so much fall into place right before that race. I really wanted to see it fall together in the Derby with the big performance. Didn't have to win, but if you're going to give me 6-1 and you're going to give me the same price on Commandment, you're going to give me some bigger prices on some others. I got to take a pass on him in this spot, but by no means am I saying that Emerging Market can't compete with these. Just this particular spot, I think coming off the Derby, he would have to do too much improving to get back in the mix.
Yeah, we feel pretty similar about him too. Like, I don't want to knock him all that much. He doesn't seem like he's that far behind this group, but at whatever price he is, I feel like it's just going to be shorter than I would want to take on him. And I think he's going to get overbet a lot because of his connections. And I really haven't seen the races from him that I love all that much. He did finish in front of the Kentucky Derby winner, Golden Tempo, though, who will round out the field. Angela, you and I liked Golden Tempo a little bit in the Derby. We thought that the race could be really fast early, and this was one of the horses that was going to drop back and at least be picking up some late pieces. He did that. He won for trainer Cherie DeVoe. I'm not sure if they're going to be going as fast in this race early, and I just don't know if it's going to set up as well for him here. We know he's going to launch his late rally. I think he's going to come closing again at the end. Do you think this race sets up as well for him, and how do you like him in here?
How could it possibly?
Right.
I mean, honestly, how could a race possibly set up as well as it somehow did in the Derby when, you found all the right spots? And granted, he had to go a little bit wide, but had a lot of working for him. How could it possibly do that in this spot? He won't have as much traffic to work through, but really he didn't do a whole bunch of slicing and dicing from the back in the Derby either. So I think that really was as well as a race could unfold at this juncture of his life. Until he shows some more early speed and the same ability to kick, you can't get that far off the pace in this small of a race with that little bit of pace.
Angela, let's move to selections. We've only got about 10, 15 seconds left before break. I'm going to stack them up 7-2-4-3 with Commandment on top. Power shift, kind of the value. How about for you? Who are you going to put on top in the Belmont?
Yeah, I'm going to take Chief Wallaby, and I'm going to take them 3, 7, 9, and 4.
Chief Wallaby for Angela, Commandment for me. When we return, let's talk Met Mile on the Belmont undercard. As we get ready to preview the Met Mile, don't forget, you can get all of the tools, all the products that you need from DailyRacingForm. Just click the QR code right there below or head to shop.drf.com. Belmont Stakes, past performances, clocker reports, betting strategies, all the help that you need. And we've also got the YouTube channel with a bunch of DailyRacingForm race previews. So we'll get you all ready for this big weekend. And one of those awesome races, Angela, is the Met Mile. This is for older horses. And we see some familiar names in here. Journalism, who was the Preakness winner from last year and was a horse who had great success in those Triple Crown races. He's going to be in here. But this is not an easy field. He is not even installed as the morning line favorite. That goes to Nisos, who is the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile winner. He's a Grade 1 winner. He is a horse who is awesome. He has incredible talent. His only issues is that he's had a hard time staying on the track. He's had some physical issues through the years, so he's only raced 9 times. But wow, Nisos is a really good horse.
Right. Delicate dynamite, I guess you would say. He has all the ability in the world. It's just that parimutually, he's not of much use.
No.
He's the biggest price he's bet is 6-1. That was his debut. And ever since that time, a lot of times he's odds on. And a lot of times, even if you're trying to utilize him in some sort of sequence, multi-race sequence, everybody's using him. So Nysos is a horse that I am always going to try to beat for that reason only, not the fact that Nysos doesn't have, I mean, some of the best ability, especially at a dirt mile in this country.
And he also just had a trip to to Saudi Arabia and back. Those trips sometimes, those international ones, take a lot out of you. He's the type of horse who's had a lot of little issues. Like I could absolutely see him needing a race or two to get back to his best efforts. Vibe is the two. He seems like kind of a long shot in here, Angela. I was surprised because he was entered in a race last weekend where he would have been a major player, but he's a big long shot in here. I don't know if he's quite up to the same class level as the rest of this group.
A compliment to the fact that they think he can hang with this group because of how tough it did end up coming up. Not sure if they had those thoughts when they initially scratched out of the blame, because like you said, he was a standout. He had an outside post. He was really in good shape, I thought, in there. You are going to get value if you like Vibe in here, but he might have his hands very full from start to finish, especially when it comes to the pace. Vibe is going to get a real test.
Thought the 3 Antiquarian is really well spotted in here, because if you're someone like you and I who are going to take a shot against Nysos and we're not sure if he's going to be ready, Antiquarian, he's going to go second start off the bench. He got a nice prep race under him. He's kind of grown up and matured now, and he's a 5-year-old. It's still pretty lightly raced. There may be some pace to run at in here if Vibe is able to push the pace a little bit, along with Saudi Crown, Rated by Merit, Knightsbridge. They could all be close up. What do you think about Antiquarian's chances in here?
And I think he's got a great shot. I think he's becoming a very popular name that I hear a lot. So I'm not counting on 6-1. I think they like him up in New York quite a bit, and he validates that trust. He runs very well up there, and he can make his own trip. And I think, like you talked about, in touch with the maturity, he lose the Westchester. It just seemed like he was kind of ready. And Antiquarian, if he has put all the pieces together and still has some speed to him, is very dangerous if he can let some horses melt down on the front end.
Saudi Crown is a grade 1 winner. He's now a 6-year-old, and he wants to be really close up early in his races. I just don't know if he's been facing the same type of company recently as he's going to face in here. He's had success. He's won back-to-back races, but in those races, there wasn't a Nysos, a Journalism, an Antiquarian, a Knightsbridge, any horses like that where he'll maybe face 4 or 5 really, really tough ones here.
You touched on it perfectly. Kind of going after big purses on the low road, not having to face off against the best. And you make a lot of money that way, but Saudi Crown still has to show that he's going to take on this group of big boys. And if he wants to do it on the front end, he's really going to have to run one of the biggest races of his life. Nothing wrong with his body of work at all. It's just going to be a tough task on the front end for anybody. And I think 8-1 would be a healthy enough price if you do like that.
It's going to be the toughest field that Rated by Merit has ever faced. Can you build a case for this Florida bred who's a little bit of a long shot in here?
I'm kind of a sucker for Rated by Merit. I've been a big fan of his from the start. I just think that his speed, it's so hard to keep a horse going good for that long and keep his speed as sharp as it is and keep stretching it out. I think he's maybe reached his limit as far as that, but Rated by Merit, at the very least, will make sure that there's a solid pace up front. And if nobody decides to go and challenge him, he's got a pretty big heart. So I'm going to probably use him, but it'll be a reach to see if he can hang on.
We'll have to get quickly through Knightsbridge and Journalism. Knightsbridge won like 4 in a row, but then he faced a really tough group last time out, and it was kind of a wake-up call for him. Do you think he can bounce back in this spot?
Kind of alarming since he had run so well at Churchill previously, but if you're willing to toss that one, I'm definitely willing to bet that Knightsbridge can show all the previous potential in this spot.
Journalism's the one they'll all have to hold off in here. He's going to make his second start back now as a 4-year-old. So, Angela, as we round out this field, where did you go with selections in the Met Mile?
I'm going to see if Knightsbridge can't rebound in this spot. I think being to the outside of all the other speed is going to put him in a good spot to really not have to make tough decisions early, and some of that potential that he's shown previously will come bubbling back to the top.
Antiquarian for me, 3-1-7-2. Best of luck this weekend, Belmont Stakes weekend at Saratoga.